Welcome to the presentation about the Komodo podcast idea. So I'll be covering what is this proposal and we'll be talking about it. So what you should know at this point is this is also a proposal for the Komodo team. And now I'm also presenting this to the community, and this is kind of on the table to be discussed and considered and enhanced. So let's jump into it. So why am I making this proposal? So I've been hosting this Discord Hangouts for community, and I've been trying to find a way to kind of upgrade them and introduce kind of more formal structure for discussion. And then this idea of podcast was born. And at the same time, I'm thinking that through this podcast, we'll be able to create content that is recording worthy, that we could be putting it to a YouTube channel, and then that way creating regular content. And then down the line, of course, to any normal podcast platforms as well, once we are happy with the result. Then a third kind of core reason in my mind is that through this podcast, we will be able to unite us at the same table, meaning our community and the team, to discuss Komodo and our product. So kind of with these things in mind, I was putting together the proposal that then, after some discussion in our team, turned into two variations or two formats of the same podcast. So there's the first one is called Voices of Komodo, a Roundtable Discussion. And this is more geared towards community engagement and having those discussions about our products or possibly any other topics. But they would center mostly about how could we improve the application, the Atomic Dex application and Komodo. And they would have a lot of audience interaction with Q&A and live pooling and anything else we kind of wanna try and experiment with. But this is the goal is to give a voice to the community and then have these roundtable conversations around a specific topic that interest you, the Komodo community. So this format is more geared towards the Komodo community specifically. Then we have the other sibling podcast format that we are right now calling Voices of Blockchain, Insider Perspectives. And then this audience would be more mainstream crypto audience. So we would be talking not so much about Komodo specifically, but about kind of blockchain and crypto trends and news and what's kind of been discussed in general, the topics that interest wider range of people than just Komodo community like in the previous podcast format. But of course we would always bring the discussion back to Komodo and our products whenever possible. And then the idea is that we are now trying to get users and some visibility for our efforts and products. So we would have these two formats. The first one is more structured conversation around the topic. And then the second one is more free-flowing, kind of guest-oriented. So we would reach out to some third-party guests that help us to build this audience for the podcast. And it's kind of up to the guest and the team of that podcast on what is exactly talking about. That is kind of more loose structure, kind of the conversation goes wherever it goes. And then the first, the Voices of Komodo format would be more like a roundtable conversation where we have several people, few from the community and few from the Komodo team, kind of sitting together to discuss about something. And there's more like a rigid structure around this topic of the podcast. And I'm kind of curious to try that out and see how that works. So the goals are to include the community, to give a voice to everyone. Whatever, you can join as a guest or you can join as an audience member, but you have a chance to kind of interact and join into the discussion in this podcast. And then have more product-centric discussions. So we would start talking more regularly about our product and what the features are and how to improve it. What is your feedback? What would you like to see, etc. And then lastly, especially through the second podcast format, we will be looking to reach a new audience. So the first format is there's things like we introduce a feature or some idea or something else, and then we have a roundtable discussion about it. We can hear from the team and the community, and then live audience can chime in the chat, and then we would have some sort of pool, and we would discuss the results of that pool and kind of wrap like what was the outcome of this discussion about some topic. Then the other format, the Voices of Blockchain, would be more centered about the guest and what they are talking about, and likely there would be some sort of timely topics about the news that is happening in the world of blockchain, and just create this dialogue. The roadmap to getting there is that we would start with some pilot episodes to kind of test out the format, what works and what doesn't, and then just kind of get going quick without spending too much time on designing graphics and so on and so on. We just want to get started and give it a try and see how we like it. And if we like it, then we go to the step 2, which is the full-scale production, which would mean that we kind of make more effort into making polished podcast, and then we would put it to all these other podcast platforms and spend some more time promoting it and kind of put more thought behind the whole thing. So this is the final slide here. So I'm kind of inviting you guys to get involved, like share what you think about this idea, share maybe your ideas for podcast topics. Then once we get going with trying the podcast, then you can join as audience live and answer the polls, join the discussion. But I'm also looking for anyone who's willing, who would like to become a guest speaker in this roundtable discussion. So if you are, then just DM me, Audo, at Komodo Discord, and we can talk more about that. And then, of course, when we really get going, then you can help by spreading the word about the podcast. So that's it for the presentation part. Thank you.